Welcome to Weather Impact Live. I'm meteorologist Mike Prangley here, and here we are, Robert. Little deja vu, a little Groundhog Day. We're here talking about another heat advisory and keeping people safe from the heat. So I'm meteorologist Mike Prangley, joined by Robert Speta from First Coast News in Jacksonville, Florida. So we got the Tampa-Jacksonville coast-to-coast connection here. And Robert, is it just as hot there as here? I mean, you go outside and it just hits you in the face.
Yeah, it is exceptionally hot. And it was that case yesterday. In fact, yesterday, Jacksonville hit 99 degrees, which, heat index up to 110. There was one airfield actually here locally. We got a lot of military bases around one of them. The heat index was up to about 115 at one point. The hottest in our city since June 24th of 2024, so last year, kind of putting it in perspective. So boy, definitely hot out here, Mike.
Yeah, and I see, it looks like behind you, you've got the crystal clear, sultry skies. I don't see any clouds building from Jacksonville Beach. And I believe that's we've got the Buckman behind you. So yeah, we've got a lot of heat from both here to there. And the big thing we've been talking about, what we're missing here is the typical cooling showers and thunderstorms across the area. So here it is, of course, Robert joining us from beautiful Duval and Jacksonville. And we're talking about a heat advisory that extends up into Brunswick, Crystal River, into Tampa. Here we are. We're talking about a heat advisory. And again, we talked a little bit about this yesterday. It's Florida, but it's not a normal thing to issue heat advisories. It's got to be really hot is what we were talking about yesterday for us to get some heat advisories in Florida. And we saw that in Jacksonville yesterday with that high of 99. Here in Tampa, 94. But it's not the heat, it was the humidity yesterday. That 94 meeting that threshold up near 110 degrees at times. So as we look at the overall picture here, zooming into the heat index values across the state, boy, they are up there. I mean, we're talking right now 102 degrees, Land O'Lakes, 101 in Tampa. I mean, it's 10:32 in the morning. So this is a live look at some crazy temperatures out there. Feels like temperature in Safety Harbor, 108. And you know, Safety Harbor, known for its beautiful park, Philippi Park, one of my nice spots I would like to run. Well, today I'm going to hold off on the run. So I'm taking my own advice, not the kind of weather you want to do any vigorous activity out there, especially not now. Brandon, 104. We were talking about Zach and Riverview. I know in Jacksonville we got Riverside. Here in Tampa we talk about Riverview, and a heat index of 114 right now in the shade. So you see what's happening here. We've got the heat advisory for the feels like temperatures across the state. And as we go through the afternoon, we are going to top off at 107 to 112. So we've got that weather impact alert going here the next couple of afternoons. It looks like that next front not really going to arrive in Tampa until Tuesday, although Jacksonville may get some relief in the afternoon tomorrow. So dangerous heat and humidity is the impact, making it feel like 107 to 112. We're hydrating, we're air conditioning, checking on our fam, friends, and fur babies, making sure they have that cool spot on a day like today. And Robert, how are folks coping with the heat back in Jacksonville?
You know, the number one thing is staying inside. They actually, I'm not sure what's going on there in Tampa, but we do have those cool weather shelters. They are opened around the city. The city opens them up. Things like the library, local buildings here, just to make sure anybody that doesn't have access to air conditioning is able to get inside and kind of get out of these exceptionally warm temperatures. But also all the splash pads, all the pools, all that stuff are opened up here as well, and just encouraging people to get out there and just stay cool here on our Sunday. And I've even seen some of the beach shots. People are out at the beach, they're enjoying it. I get it. It's comfortable at first, but too much time exposed in the sun, as you can see right here, it can quickly result in those heat-related illnesses. And I know yesterday there was reports of people being taken to the hospital due to said heat-related illnesses, heat exhaustion, just being out there for far too long. So, the city and the local area is ready for it. It seems like everybody's taking it serious. I still haven't been getting those comments from people saying, hey, it's Florida, I get it, we're hot. But it seems like 90% of people do acknowledge that this warm temperature is above what we typically see out here, and thus, they're taking the proper precautions. No one's going for, a 10K at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Maybe you, Mike. You're a little crazy. But,
no, I am crazy, but even I know better in this weather, Robert. So we've got the heat safety tips there. You're doing a good job going through the list, and I think with the less alcohol, less caffeine, more water, that's good. But today, really a day where you want to drink the electrolytes with that water. Make sure you have a sports drink or two around, especially if you're going to be outside. Try to limit that side outside. And I liked what you're talking about, the pool, the beach. Usually we go there to cool off. There's not much of a cooling effect there today, so we'll try to get a couple hours in, but it's going to be tough. And you got to realize the pool temperatures here in Tampa and down toward the south side of Jacksonville, they're hitting up near 90 degrees. So it's not really going to cool you off that much, and you're going to have to take breaks even from the beach and the pool on a day like today. Now that should get your attention. Yeah, that does not sound like us here in Florida. So taking frequent breaks from the heat, wearing the light-colored clothing, less alcohol, less caffeine, more water, protecting the people, pets, and plants, and seeking activities in the AC. And Robert was talking about this. Yeah, we had some issues with heat exhaustion and heat stroke across the state yesterday. And Robert, we got a Tampa Bay Rays game here today. 12:10 first pitch. I don't think they were paying attention to the weather or that heat advisory because, boy, that's outside at Steinbrenner Field. We're going to have feels like temperatures. They're already at 100 degrees. Can you imagine first pitch here in about an hour and a half, maybe near 110? Could we get a delay for heat, a heat delay? Maybe has that ever happened in Major League Baseball? What is your call on this? I'm going to put you on the spot. We're going to put Robert on the hot seat. We'll get to a couple of these hot seat questions. My first one to you, Robert, is will the Tampa Bay Rays have their first ever heat delay? Because if you look behind me, I want you to go through this list. Look at the heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and I think we meet the criteria for this.
Yeah, I think we definitely do. Now, I don't know what the rules for Major League Baseball is. I know the Jumbo Shrimp here in Jacksonville do not delay for anything shy of a straight up lightning. I mean, we had that viral video the video went viral last week of a pitcher who got a bonk because a bonk in baseball is basically they get ready, they're set to throw the pitch, and then they wind up and then they don't throw it. And it's meant to prevent people from kind of faking out. But the pitcher winded up and then it was like bam, and there was a lightning strike. Which there was audible thunder in the area prior to said strike, but he pulled back. He was a little shaken, and the runner was able to go ahead. I don't know what the rules are for heat. I would assume, at the very least, hopefully the Rays do got some cooling stations around there, maybe giving out some free water and things like that to keep you cool. But then the players on top of that, I'm sure once you get down onto the field, it's going to be, especially on like just the brown dirt there of the infield, that heat is just going to be radiating off of it. So it says 92, 93 here. Yeah. But I bet for the pitcher in the middle of in the field, it's got to be feeling like it's well over 100 out there.
Yeah, that's a good synopsis. Just so if you're going to the game, find those cooling stations. I would think they would have some of those fans set up. So we're calling for dangerous heat today, and I did a little mathematics. Robert, we love our numbers as meteorologists, and I was trying to put this in as simple terms as I could this morning. So we had dangerous heat here, and we're asking the big weather question we had on Facebook is how much water is needed. And I'm trying to get away from the plastic bottles, but I use the bottles as a little parameter there. You know, we know that the bottles are about 16.9 ounces. So what we do is we multiply our body weight by 2/3. Okay, it's pretty easy. Just open your phone, put the calculator in, so 0.66, and then divide by that water bottle, which is about 16.9 ounces. So here's what scientifically the best I could do this morning answering this question. On an average day, I said that's about right. You want to do about 5 to 7 bottles, right, or 16.9 ounces, so that's about right. And then we take a look at a day with 100 plus heat, and especially on a day like today, we add about 2 to 3 water bottles. So think about that, 8 to 10 water bottles on a hot day like today. But that does include, this is a big caveat, frequent breaks in the AC. So for those outdoor workers, they need an extra 3 water bottles every 2 hours. So as you do the math here, this is the big thing. We need to make sure we hydrate well before going outside. So the problem people have, the folks that say, well, I drank too much water too fast, that can make you sick as well. It's because they're trying to hydrate after it's too late. Don't hydrate when it's too late. Hydrate right away and don't wait. So that's the big thing I got out of this. So on a day like today, Robert, you got your big water bottle. I've got a new one I bought because I'm trying to get away from those plastic bottles. So what do you got going on? You got a whole bunch of bottles, water bottles in the studio?
I'm not gonna lie here. I've been drinking coffee all morning. Maybe I should switch up a little bit. I do have a water bottle next to my desk, though, for this after the coffee kind of wears off, staying hydrated, which it is amazing on a day like today. And by the way, thank you very much, Dr. Prangley, there for all that data. That is some good, solid research right there. But no, you do notice on a day like today, and I've noticed this, is that you don't need coffee to kind of get that energy boost. If you are dehydrated, you might just be feeling a little bit, exhausted. But water, especially when you drink it and you kind of just feel it running down your chest, like it wakes you up. It gives you a little extra pep in your step. So, yeah, maybe. You just drink a little extra water, you'll feel better. I know I'm not the doctor over here. I didn't do all the math, but I can tell you it does make you feel a little better out there.
Well, yeah, and we're looking for some water from nature. We're needing some help, and I know a lot of rain has fallen here in Tampa. We have such high evaporation rates, so when it gets this hot, and there's a lot of low-level humidity, we evaporate literally a quarter to a half inch of rain out of the soil every day. So I said check on the people and the pets, and of course the plants. And Futurecast, we've been talking about this from Tampa to Jacksonville this morning. Robert had amazing graphics on First Coast News showing this heat dome. And what we mean by a heat dome, this is pretty big. We got like a two-headed monster heat dome here from the Atlantic Ocean, Bermuda High, all the way back into the Gulf of Mexico. So, from Hillsborough, Pinellas County up to Jacksonville, we're talking about sinking air on the map. So you see Jacksonville, there's that high, Robert, I got 2:40 p.m., 98. So it looks like you may head to another record today, or at least close to it. And a good thing that you have that heat advisory. And then Tampa, we're not looking for much water from nature either. It's going to come from the water bottles. We got 93 with a 20% chance of a shower. But our dew points are usually a little bit higher than North Florida, so we make up for that 5-degree difference just because of the humidity out there. And as we put this into motion, we're looking for a storm. I think we may have verified that Piccolata shower yesterday, but today, not much. In Tampa, we had a quick shower in Wesley Chapel. That was about it. And today, that's it. Few and far between on the rain. 710, just not much at all. And notice this high pressure so strong, not even getting those cooling storms up toward Atlanta, Georgia, and the Carolinas. As we go into Monday, here's the transition day. I know Robert loves that word. And we take a look at that high pressure starting to weaken. And as it does so, we're going to be watching lots of energy and moisture pulling to the north with an area of low pressure trying to develop along a front that's coming farther south. So if there is an area to watch for some of nature's relief, it looks like North Florida tomorrow, I-10 corridor, southeast Georgia, we'll see a better chance of some thunderstorms. So notice Jacksonville up to that 60% chance of rain with high temperatures. Hey, a little better, more cloud. Doesn't that make a difference? That cloud cover closer to 90 here in Tampa. Yeah, we had to issue another weather impact alert because we're a little farther south, and we'll be right back up in the low to mid 90s with that feels like temperature of 107 to 112. But you see the overall picture. The heat dome is going to start to be slowly squashed by that front, and then we're going to keep an eye out of the sky for increasing storms during the week. In fact, Tuesday morning, now boy, I'm going to be busy on the morning show here in Tampa. We got lots of rain. Even we could even see some flood alerts with this, and maybe some flood advisories. And then, of course, we'll be watching our friends up in Jacksonville as well with those increasing rain chances. So let's keep the water going until nature gives us help with some of that water as well. And Robert, based on the latest models you're seeing, you're scanning the models like I am all day. How much rain do you have on the way for Jacksonville? Is it going to be too much rain at once like we sometimes see this time of year? Or are you seeing, I'm going to pull up the latest Euro here, see if you agree with this. So we'll see what Robert, we'll get some real-time analysis here. And here it is. Here's the latest I have from the Euro. We'll stop it. Here it is through Friday. Are you in agreement with this?
I'm generally in agreement. I don't think too much rain at once. I think rain over the course of several days, training one after another, kind of like what we just saw last week. Where we had these storms, and you can even see there that graphic, coastal areas seeing some precip because might even see some good northeasterly winds. So parts of southeastern Georgia into Jacksonville, going to see that onshore flow. So but at the same time, I was looking at the total precipitable water vapor for Futurecast. So we're looking at Tuesday and Wednesday. with the ECMWF as well here.
Here
And
we
it
go.
just shows not only the amount of rainfall coming down, but the mid to upper level moisture is going to be absolutely dominating. Yeah, watch this. I mean, it's
Okay.
just that tropical moisture that's going to be built in, especially Tuesday over towards Wednesday. And that is just going to make any storms that do develop really just erupt with that much more moisture. And when they come down, I do believe we're going to get a lot of downbursts. We're going to get a lot of that short time heavy rainfall. And subsequently, once again, a lot more lightning there. But it really is just yeah, right there. That's the spot. Tuesday into Wednesday really just shows you that darker greens over the First Coast and over the entire state of Florida, for that matter, just being moisture rich, and thus you're going to get the more of those locally heavy showers out here, Mike.
Yeah, that's good synopsis there. In fact, as we go to radar right now, I miss showing those cooling showers, Robert. So there you go. There's Jacksonville right now, Waycross, Brunswick, not looking for much in the way of activity today. Rainfall estimates from yesterday, yeah, quieter than it should be. I mean, we usually get, what, 30–40% coverage in North Florida this time of year. Here in Tampa, we're closer to like 50% coverage, but there's that brief shower near Elwood, not too far. Silverleaf got a quick shower as well, and then you go down toward Elkton and Hastings, just a quick shower. But we're not getting the gully washers that we're expecting this week. These are just the splash and dash type rain. But what Robert and I are seeing on the radar from Jacksonville to Tampa, hey, we've got a couple things we don't normally see. So first of all, today we're not normally in a heat advisory here in Florida because normally we're hot, but we got that. And something else we're getting this week that we normally don't get this time of year, especially in late July, is a frontal boundary coming down. So that frontal boundary comes down, meets all of our moisture, and just all this moisture just builds up in the atmosphere. So we're talking about a supercharged atmosphere. So right now, it is the calm ahead of a big change in all the storms this week. Okay, so yesterday, here was that quick shower toward Wesley Chapel along I-75 up to Hernando County, and again, splash and dash. But this week, we're talking about rain, I think, for all of us, okay? And there will be some isolated pockets of some flooding and a flood threat across the area from Jacksonville to Tampa. The question is how far north and south? Well, as we look at our excessive rain outlook, you know, we've got a severe weather outlook. The SPC puts that out, Storm Prediction Center, okay, a scale of 0 to 5. Well, on our rain scale for severe rain or extreme rainfall, it's out of 4, so 0 to 4. Last week here in Tampa, we were sitting in the 2 range. We had a lot of yellow on the map. Jacksonville was the 1 out of 4. This week, more of a 1 out of 4 for all of us, okay? So that does include St. Johns County back to Alachua County, watching Levy County, and all the way down toward areas of Manatee County. Then as we go into Tuesday, look how it expands. So I think Robert did a great job picking out when's the day. It's really going to get interesting, and I think especially as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay, so Tuesday things really light up. Wednesday we'll have that low pressure still just moving into the Gulf, and I think that'll be a very active day. But notice this area will shrink as we go through the week. As we go to Thursday, that level 1 out of 4 continues to move off to the west. So areas of the Panhandle of Florida, Panama City, these are the areas we'll have to watch for that flood threat with all that ample moisture we showed you and that front. So again, looking one more time at the forecast rainfall euro. If there is good news, Robert, I'm gonna call this up. It does look like at this time we are not expecting tropical activity with this front. You remember last week we were on guard. We had what, a 20% at times, 30, maybe up to 40 briefly. But this week it looks like we're going to stay near 0. Never say never, but right now it looks like a very small threat.
Yeah, I would say never say never on it. The NHC isn't monitoring it. The Climate Prediction Center isn't monitoring it
Right.
For any threats. But it is still a trough over warm waters, and I wouldn't ever close my eyes to it. But yeah, definitely on the low side. I think the bigger issue here is not monitoring for the risk of a tropical system spinning up. I know the wish casters, as we jokingly call them, you know, they look at this type of stuff and they go, yeah, that could be a storm. But I think our bigger issue here is across the state of Florida. It's just this moisture-rich atmosphere. Daytime heating. We don't need a tropical storm to cause flooding. We could be looking at these local storms causing, you know, strong thunderstorms, gusty winds, and all of that heavy rainfall. What graphic is this? This is new. What am I looking at here?
So here, I'll just take a quick look. So I did a couple different tracks as we do by hand. So what would happen this week? We're watching what was Invest 93L do a big loop and it's actually going to make it right back around and do another loop this week. But what I did is a graphic, where will the front be and where will the low set up as it comes back around into Florida this week. So the first track is a much farther south track, and if that happens, I'm kind of leaning more north, but if this happens, we'd have a higher risk of flooding here in Tampa. So I was giving a heads up to the poor folks in Hillsborough County, eastern Hillsborough County, who had the 1 in 1,000-year flood last week, Robert. We had 10 inches of rain in 3 hours. Some spots made it over 12 inches of rain. So we're on guard. There's a lot of standing water here. We don't need any more rain. So I said this track will be the worst of the 2 tracks for us in Tampa. Now the second track, which looks more likely, would be the heat dome keeps the front and downpours a little farther to the north. So, and remember last week we were in the level 2 out of 4 flood risk. This week probably curtailing that to a 1 out of 4 in Tampa. But I'd be interested to see, with all that moisture we showed, maybe Jacksonville's risk should be increased from a 1 out of 4 to a 2 out of 4. I'll get your thoughts on that, because I do see this low more in a northerly track due to what I'm seeing in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. And if that happens, then North Florida and the I-10 corridor and the First Coast would have more in the way of flooding this week, more widespread flooding at least than us here in Tampa. But we're going to keep our weather impact alert going here for sure from Tampa to Jacksonville, and we're going to watch this very carefully. You know, things do shift and change, but for right now, this is what I'm seeing. And of course, the Hurricane Center, we're not going to say 0, but a near 0 chance of development as it moves to the west. And you know, that farther southern track, Robert, we'll get your thoughts on this. If it does go a little farther south, yes, we could still have development, and by then maybe have to watch it toward Texas, right? So still a long way to go with this. We take it a day at a time, especially when you get a front, lots of moisture, and over that very warm Gulf water that we normally see.
I mean, that overall southern track would definitely be the worst case scenario, not worst case scenario, but the better of the 2 scenarios here. Not only, you know, for the heavier rainfall in Tampa, but yeah, you're right. If it spends more time over the Gulf, it would just have more time over those warm sea surface temperatures to spin up. But also even for Jacksonville, of course, the northern route would increase rainfall, but I think the southern route, especially if you get a little bit of a low off of the East Coast, we would be looking at some fairly decent onshore winds, which obviously would increase the risk of rip current, surf, and onshore showers too. So I've been looking at some of those guidances that showed a low spinning off of the East Coast. GFS yesterday was really pulling for it, kind of backed off since then. But in those scenarios, it actually does indicate some breezier conditions. I mean, let's see what the ECMWF, and see right there, yeah, a little bit further towards the north, but for a period of time there, we do see a little bit of that onshore flow that starts to kick in and really just, you know, brings those breezy conditions along the coast. Last week, we really saw that with a little Invest 93L. Did something very similar, came on shore around the Space Coast and just brought breezy conditions all day and passing showers. So I think in both scenarios, you know, it's some sloppy weather, but definitely the fine tunes of the tracks. That's a really great graphic you had there, Mike. Okay. Can make the difference between, are we talking about heavy rainfall? Are we talking about onshore winds and rip currents and things like that? We're really not going to be able to nail that down until we see where this stationary boundary does start to set up over the next 24 to 48 hours as that low kind of drifts down towards the south. But in either scenario, I mean, everything's wet out there. More rain is. I'm sure you think your yards are happy about it, but I think we've had our fill of rain here as of late.
Yeah, we were in a severe drought, maybe 6 weeks ago, and we are now done with the rain. We don't need any more rain. That does include the northern area. So some of the reminders, we were talking about flash flood watches and warnings and flood warnings and watches and what it all means to folks. So this week, you know, we're going to keep an eye on the flooding in Florida. Okay, so when you hear a watch, that means Robert and I are watching things like a hawk. Yeah, we're just watching things carefully. Well, we always are, but especially when you're getting these squally watchers, are they going to put down 10 inches of rain in 3 hours like we saw last week? Based on what we saw on the water vapor, the atmosphere is so charged up, we can't rule that out. But again, when we show those rainfall totals across Tampa and Jacksonville and you see, okay, 2, 3, 4 inches we can put up with that, that's just an average. Nature can squeeze out a whole lot more, especially when you get the training of rain. So again, when you see a watch this week, just mean conditions are favorable for the threat of flooding. Danger's not imminent, but if you're in a flood zone in a lowland area, you need to be ready to take action, okay? And don't let the average rainfall fool you, okay? Nature can take it up to the next level in a hurry, and that's when we go from a watch to a warning. That means we're acting now. Flooding's occurring and imminent like we saw last week in eastern Hillsborough County. We're not going to be driving through the flooded roadways, and we're going to be staying tuned for updates. So again, we just have about 2 minutes here left, Robert, and as we get you ready for another very active week. We called it a wild week here this morning on 10 Tampa Bay. Just know at least we're here, we're watching it for you and helping to keep people safe, and that's what it's all about.
Exactly, and that's why we put out those weather impact alerts here, both at 10 Tampa Bay and at First Coast News. A lot of people accuse us of trying to hype things, and that's not the case because I don't get paid more to hype things up here. We're not by the click. But our job is to make sure people are staying safe. And putting red on the 7-day or putting these very simple to understand graphics out there really kind of helps get the point across. And that's the whole goal of the game. Make sure you're staying weather aware so you can make proper choices today. Those proper choices are staying out of the heat. By midweek, it may be giving yourself some extra time before you head out on the roadways or just trying to avoid making those outdoor plans, especially on days like Wednesday afternoon, where we anticipate those scattered showers, even those strong to severe thunderstorms out here, Mike. So as always, thanks for stopping by with me here on the weekend. I enjoy our talks to each other, and I hope everybody at home enjoys watching us as we break down some of these outlooks in a little bit more detail. Well,
Robert, you can be my wingman anytime. I look forward to doing many more shows with you. You and I we've been through hurricanes, tropical storms. I wish we had this power. Let's keep all the tropical storms and hurricanes away. We'll take these gully washers and we'll go from there. But today, again, the big story, the heat advisory is with us from Jacksonville to Tampa. Tomorrow, likely just as hot, and then we get ready for possible flooding and strong storms, especially late Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And of course, we'll keep you updated here. We appreciate you joining us. Thanks, Robert.